Okay, welcome back to this channel. Here we like to explore faith and truth and wisdom and everything that makes us grow a little bit more every day. And today I want to talk about how to stand firm in what we believe in, how to be confident when we are sharing our faith. And I want to offer the testimony that I wasn't personally always this confident when I was sharing my faith. In fact, the opposite is true. I used to be the person who would freeze up or mumble something very vague or just avoid any type of religious, theological conversations altogether. But that all changed, and over time I have learned, I have practiced, I have grown a lot in my faith, thank God. And so today I want to take you on that same journey from hesitant and unsure to bold and compelling when sharing the good news, because it is good news. So if you've ever felt nervous or insecure about defending your faith, you're certainly not alone. But we have to remember that defending the faith is an opportunity to bring other folks to Christ and to truth. So you know what? Grab your tea, grab your coffee, grab your driving wheel, grab your laundry basket, whatever you're doing. Let's just get right into it. So hear me out. It's just a thought. Okay, so I guess the first thing that I will say is that if we are to be real, we live in an age where skepticism is the default setting, and people are always bombarded with different worldviews and different quote unquote scientific claims, and the idea of your truth and my truth and their truth and many truths. And so we all have different experiences and stories. I will also add that there are agendas from many, many sides. And because we're in an era where information is everywhere all the time and easily accessible, I guess I've noticed that sometimes believing nothing seems like the safest thing to do for most people. And that includes any kind of a religious or spiritual claim. I've noticed people are just like fed up, overloaded with information. And so they are like, I will believe nothing. I will only believe my eyes, my truth, my understanding. And so, of course, sharing the faith with a skeptical, overstimulated, or indoctrinated, or side-eyeing friend or family member or neighbor, colleague, classmate, gym mate, whoever this may be, this can seem like quite the task. But remember, I think, and you can agree or disagree, I do think that if we were to have a challenge where Christianity is challenging the world or the world is challenging Christianity, I do believe that Christianity is the best worldview, is the true worldview. And so we are left, for people who agree with this claim I just made, we are left with the desire to share the good news, the desire to share the truth, but sometimes we can lack the confidence to do so because we are afraid of being canceled, or because we're unsure exactly how to go about it, or we're undereducated. So basically, how do we navigate all of this? Well, let me offer some tips. Let me know, of course, if you have your own, but the first thing to do is start by educating ourselves. I think I have mentioned this on this channel a lot, but we should understand why people in front of us are skeptical. And we know that sometimes it's because of a bad experience with Christian people, Christian churches, whatever. It could be a cultural bias as well, or some kind of cultural narratives. I can think, for example, of how many times I have heard on the internet or in real life people saying, well, how can you believe in the white man's religion? Something like that. If you are a non-white person, maybe you're black, maybe you're Asian, maybe you're brown, maybe whatever you may B, racially speaking, you might have heard things like Christianity is the white man's religion. So things like cultural narratives, or what was that? Narratives, narratives, or ethnic narratives. Or you know what? It can simply be, not knowing what Christianity really teaches. There's a lot of false information circulating everywhere about Christianity, or debunkings, of Christianity, that debunk things that Christianity never said or never claimed. So you know what? When we know where people are coming from, we can then engage with compassion and with, not with combativeness. And I did talk about this briefly in my episode about just being married to a Jehovah Witness, for example, or dealing with Jehovah Witnesses and atheists on a very regular basis, and being confronted with questions that might be harsh. And so if you have missed that episode, go back and watch it. It's definitely in the title. It's easy to find. But I've definitely been confronted with harsh questions or harsh comments just from their perspective. And anytime I took a moment to understand where they were coming from, we had the best conversations ever, like ever. But yeah, harsh questions. Which reminds me, quick question for you. What is the toughest or most challenging faith-related question you've ever been asked? Because I want to know, right? Drop that in the comments so we can kind of all get into it together. And of course, I don't assume that everybody listening to this is a Christian, is a believer. I want to know, if you're a non-believer, an atheist or skeptic, whatever, what is the most pressing question you have about faith or about Christianity? I want to hear from you too. This channel is I can't speak today, is not just for people that are already believers. I just love having conversations about faith. So again, let me know, what is the most pressing question you have about faith or Christianity as a non-believer. Okay. So in terms of just gaining confidence, in terms of understanding the other person better, you also will notice that you will have to also understand Christianity and its history. And Christianity is not some modern, internet trend. It's not. It has stood the test of time for over 2,000 years, I would say more. And the Bible, right, what we consider to be the Word of God, it's not a fairy tale collection, which I used to believe. I used to be like, that book, who cares? Like, men got together and wrote something and decided it was the truth, and then spread that truth, sometimes by force, sometimes by just being compelling enough. And it's nothing is reliable about it. And then I researched everything on my own. And of course, we'll talk about tools later on. But the claim I have here is that it is historically reliable. And I will add that the evidence, right? The evidence for Christianity is pretty solid. The problem is that most people just have not looked at it. Most people just have, and I say most people, and I include my past self in the most people. I'm sure you've been there as well. We've all held very strong opinions on things we were merely educated, like not educated about. And so I'm not throwing stones. I'm just recognizing what the pattern sometimes is of saying, boo your God, boo your religion, boo you're a dumb person because A, B, C, D, but we have never actually looked at the evidence or seriously educated ourselves or challenged a religion, but also mostly the Christian religion. So again, not throwing stones, I was there. I want to plug a couple of tools and books. I think one great book for people who are trying to confidently defend their faith, but also people that are skeptical, people that are like, okay, present me with some evidence, right? build a case for me and just provide that case to me. It's been done. We're very grateful for folks who are highly intelligent but also very diligent in their work, who take time to build cases for Christianity. And so one book that I can think of right now is Cold Case Christianity. You've probably heard of it. It's by J. Warner Wallace. Please look that up. I highly recommend. I also can think of, I forgot the specific author, but I've read, The Case for the Deity of Christ, The Case for the Resurrection of Christ. Solid work by very serious people. And so if you want a deep dive in a specific topic like resurrection, like I mentioned, the Case for the Resurrection of Christ is one. You can also check out the previous videos that I have made where we unpacked why the resurrection is a cornerstone of our faith. There's so much out there. There are study Bibles available for adults. I've seen some for kids, if I'm not mistaken. Might be just in French, but I think I've seen those. There are softwares, there's just free or paid. I can think of Blue Letter Bible that I use. I can think of Logos. Again, it's just that there's so much out there that I feel like people do not use enough to defend Christianity, to study Christianity. And I'm always here. I'm just a girl on the mic who loves to share her faith, who loves to look into things. So I want to encourage you, yes, do hang with me, right? Stay here, subscribe, let's chat, but also do not underestimate or sleep on the tremendous work that has already been done in Christian apologetics and is available. Again, it's available for all, for Christians, non-Christians. It's just there. And so I think when we are here and let's say we are studying Christianity, studying the reliability of the Bible, one question that arises pretty fast is, well, okay, I understand what Christianity is, but how does it compare to other religions? How does it compare? What makes Christianity truer than the next religion? And this is not the topic of today specifically, because today is about being confident when we defend Christianity. I will definitely make an episode comparing Christianity to other religions. But that's one question that might shatter that's one doubt that might shatter our confidence. And here's the thing. Again, when the question is, when there are so many religions, how can we say that ours, right? How can you say that your religion is the right one? And I think it's a very fair question. It's absolutely a fair question. I would find weird that somebody who is hearing the defense for Christianity does not have that question. It's already weird if you don't wonder about that. So it's a fair question. But here's the thing. I think that truth by nature is exclusive. I don't buy this whole my truth, your truth, and 14,000 million truths narrative. If I was to tell you that I was born, January 1st, 2025, you wouldn't then believe that I was also born, February 5th, 1960. Like, the fact that there is a date on which I was born also should tell you that I was not born. It's exclusive of all other dates. I don't know if it's a good example, but it's my example. Or if I said, 2 + 2 is 5. If you would immediately be like, no, but it's 4, because the truth will not change based on your opinion or your mood, your feeling in that moment. And I think the same logic applies to religious claims, right? They can't all be true if they contradict each other. And, let me put my phone off because I am getting messages. And of course, I didn't think to turn it off before. Pardon me. So yeah, I think if they contradict each other, they can't all be true at the same time. And you may have guessed it, but let me repeat it again. On this channel, I claim that the God of the Bible is real and that Christianity is true. And what sets Christianity apart is Jesus, right? No other major religious leader claimed to be God and then performed miracles to prove that claim and then kind of rose from the dead. If you know one, drop it in the comments. But that's one distinction. And if let's say if Jesus is who he said he is, then Christianity isn't just one of many paths, it's the path. And so understanding this key element is so important to be able to be confident about it. So, of course, we'll spend time together on this channel, like I said, looking into all of that. But the multiple religions confusion element is important to master in order to be confident. Now, all of that is good and well, but let's talk tactics. Let's just think about, well, how do I go about all of these conversations after I have educated myself? Because step one is being educated, but step two is actually having conversations and, answering questions and asking questions and just talking to other people. It's one thing to be convinced it's another thing to show the truth to other people. So let's get into some tactical, some tips basically to spread the gospel, but also defend the faith. And the idea here, like I mentioned, is I want to help you get rid of uncertainty or anxiety, but also like awkwardness and pettiness and any other blocker that you can think of. So the first thing to do is don't lecture people, guys. Like, don't sit down and say, I am right and you stay silent. I'm just going to talk. No, ask questions. Instead of going into lecture mode, ask what they think, what they mean, how they came to that conclusion, because this puts the burden of proof. Of course, you understand that firstly, it's a better experience for everybody. But tactically, this puts the burden of proof on them and makes the conversation just thoughtful and not argumentative. If somebody says, I think there is no God, instead of going directly into there is a God, here's why mode, you can say, okay, tell me why you think there isn't a God. And so it opens up the conversation. It lets them express themselves. And this is not with the intent to be, how do I explain this? This is not so that they feel heard, but you're not actually hearing them. This is not for you to be fake and to pretend that you're listening. This is for you to actually listen, because you want to connect with that person. You want to understand their experience and go from there. You don't want to just be pretending to hear them and waiting on the opportunity to respond. You want to actually hear what the block is, what the obstacle is, what the thought process is. It could also edify you, but I digress. So hear them out, because you will quickly find that being lectured is about as fun as when your parents used to lecture you. That was not fun. And no shade on parents. I am a parent of young kids. I do lecture sometimes, but I can tell on their faces that they're not having the best time. I'm working on that. Anyway, this is not therapy. So just ask questions, hear them out, right? And secondly, play Columbo. Just be Columbo, meaning I hope you're old enough to know who Columbo is. If you're not, what? But I mean by that, just find stuff out, right? Be aware of what's happening. Stay curious. Let them speak, like I mentioned, but also spot spot the inconsistencies in their speech or their argument. And trust me, you could be like, what inconsistency? Trust me, take this to the bank. There will be inconsistencies. There will be arguments that don't make sense. I've been in enough conversations that were really not confrontational, I would say, but where people were very confident on their criticism on Christianity, that I have consistently been able to spot. Ooh, that's going to be a weird step. I have consistently been able to spot inconsistencies. Is that a thing? I have consistently been able to spot a flawed argument and then pick up on that. And so it will happen for sure. You can, let me find some examples. You will pretty often hear something, for example, right? There's many, many more, but I can think of one that I hear pretty often, which is, the Bible is not to be taken seriously because there's so many contradictions. And so that's a claim. That's an important claim. And what I think is to do here, like we mentioned, is okay, don't directly go into no because blah blah blah. Ask them, okay, that's interesting. Can you give me one one contradiction? Can you bring forward one so we can discuss it? I would say, in my experience, let me know your experience. Most of the time, they cannot really point to a specific contradiction. And if they if they can come up with one, it's a fantastic conversation to start. It's really a good conversation to start. And I'm not talking about to fight with them. On this channel, I do not encourage anybody to fight anybody. We don't believe in that. But it's a good conversation to start. And spoiler alert, the alleged contradictions can all be addressed. And you should definitely spend time looking at the alleged contradictions, studying that they can all be addressed. I have yet to find one that is an actual contradiction that can't be addressed. But hey, we live and we learn. Maybe I'll find one in the future. I have just not been there yet. So, of course, welcome to comment in the comment section if you have one in mind. But really, to take time to listen and spot the inconsistencies or the argument failures, where you can then open up a conversation. And then we have to also be okay with not knowing everything. Let me tell you something. It makes us confident to be okay with not knowing everything. Sometimes we mix up being confident with knowing everything, having all of the answers, being able to come back quickly with something. I don't like that. I don't like that we equate confidence with being a walking dictionary or a walking, what is the word I'm looking for? Like a walking, my gosh, I have it in French. Pin that. I'll find that word in a minute. But to just be it's not to have all of the answers that make you confident. It's knowing that what you believe in is true, educating yourself, and then knowing that if ever you do not have the question in that very moment, you can invite the person to search the answer with you. So let's not make the mistake of thinking that the most confident people know everything. I know you can think, so not to throw shade, but I know you can think in my recent videos of an example I shared where there was a very, very confident man, super confident, and I mean like ultra confident, who was 100% wrong because he knew nothing. And so his confidence was shattered the minute that his arguments were countered. And so let's not be fools, guys. Let's not walk around with a big head, and let's not draw our confidence from ourselves. No. We are nothing. We are nobody. We just happen to spread good news. We just happen to be, ambassadors for Christ. Don't sit. That's a bad translation. Oh my gosh. Don't sit your confidence on yourself. I know it sounds funny, but I promise it makes sense in French. And so you're going to have to forgive me for that. It does not come from you, basically. The confidence comes and should come from knowing where to find the answers. Also, let me tell you, we are living in a golden age for Christian apologetics. I will say it over and over again. We have books, articles, podcasts, debates, entire websites dedicated to answering tough questions. There is an ocean of knowledge waiting for you to dive in. And I will also mention and re-mention that being challenged is a blessing, because you'll notice something, a pattern. Somebody asks you a question that's very challenging. It makes you uncomfortable and you're like, wait, what? I didn't think of all that. and then you go through a little period of like uneasiness where you're like, oh boy, what if that was a thing? And so you have two choices. Either your ego gets in the way and you're like inventing stuff at this point just to counter, or you get curious, you're interested, and you go back and you look for the answer. Here's what has happened to me personally 100% of the time. God asked the question, didn't know the answer, but then I was like, wait, what? This sounds like a legit question. Go do research, like legit research. I'm not talking about people who only agree with what I want to find as a conclusion. No. I look into it. 100% of the time I was blessed because I found out even more information that, of course, as you may have guessed it, corroborated what the Bible teaches, but also just blessed me as an individual. That's why I welcome these conversations. That's why I get on a mic and talk about these things. It's a blessing for both parties. It's a blessing for the person who's hearing about Christ and God for the first time, and the good news and the sacrifice and the like everything. But it's also a blessing for the person who is communicating the good news, because we don't know everything all the time, but it's there. The information is there. I digress. I can think while I'm talking, I was thinking about the book that I've pushed on my channel so many times. It's Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. If you have not read it yet, please, please, whether you're a Christian, a non-Christian, please go read that book. What do you mean? Of course, the number one book I do recommend is the Bible itself. It's the Word of God. But right after that, please go read Mere Christianity. Come on. Listen to me. Go read Mere Christianity. Okay, I'm stopping. I can also think of many, websites. I will definitely share those as we go throughout the year, answering the toughest questions. But go read Mere Christianity. Come on, please. Okay. So I think the bottom line here is that confidence in defending our faith, it does not come from having a quick comeback for every argument. I will push that again. It just comes from being convinced ourselves. The more we understand the evidence, the history, and the beauty of the gospel, the more we naturally share it. And so, again, you will hear me say this often on this channel, but it starts with us. It starts with us. This week, I want to challenge you. What day are we? We're Saturday. Okay, so I'm recording this on a Saturday. So this coming week, I'm going to challenge you, if you allow me, to pick one area of Christian apologetics to study deeper. It could be whatever you are most interested in. It could be the resurrection. It could be the reliability of the Bible. It could be a comparison of Christianity to other religions. I will most definitely make episodes about that. But, then start a conversation with someone and practice what you've learned. Now, Gigi is not telling you to stop someone on the street on Monday morning who is in a hurry to get to their job and provide for their family in order to start this conversation. Don't be weird. Don't go around saying that Gigi told you that. But I am saying, if you have the opportunity to practice conversationally and, to practice talking about what you have learned, it might seem awkward at first. You can even pick a friend to be the other person. It can seem awkward, but that's okay. I think sometimes we have to be awkward in order to be better communicators of the good news. Again, the truth is true. The good news is good news, but we are flawed people. We might be shy. We might not have the right vocabulary. We might be whatever it is. We can get better at communicating what we have to communicate. So let's do, pardon me, let me go back. That's the challenge I have for you. If you accept that mission, what is it that they say in movies? That is your mission. If you so accept it, or something like that. Oh my gosh, I'm so bad. And so that's the challenge I give you. Let me know how that goes. And if you are, like I mentioned, a non-religious person, a skeptical, an atheist, a person from another religion, same thing, same challenge. Pick an area of Christian, what is the word, of a criticism of Christianity, and search on it, study it. You will find interesting answers. I challenge all of us to do that. Let me know in the comment section in about a couple of days or weeks how that goes. All right, time to wrap things up. So maybe if we recap what we talked about, I guess one is understanding the world we live in, understanding that skepticism is common, and so we have to engage with each other with sympathy, and no, not sympathy, with empathy. And we have to know the facts. We have to understand that Christianity has stood the test of time for a reason. The Bible is historically reliable. Then we have to understand and address the religious confusion of actually truth is exclusive. Jesus' resurrection sets Christianity totally apart. And then we have to use some effective tactics. We have to ask good questions, hear the answers, stay curious, and not be afraid to say, I don't know, and I will look into that. And then we have, please, to equip ourselves. There's an ocean of Christian resources out there. We have to dive in. And like I mentioned, at the end of the day, the goal is not to win an argument, but to share the truth with some love and with some clarity. I've heard something that was so true at one point, which is not that the thing was true only at one point, but I heard it at one point anyway. And somebody said, whenever you're having a conversation about God and Christianity with another person, the focus isn't on you. When you're done with that conversation, the person should be in awe of God, not you. The person should want to know more about God, not you. You know you've done a good job when you have been, what is the word I'm looking? You've been truthful enough, compelling enough, but also just humble enough when you're having these conversations to point the attention to God when they have more questions about Him and less about you. That's the message I will spread. You will be confident because then we all have confidence in God. It's just we don't have confidence in ourselves. I will say that. Okay, enough with all of that. I think we can talk about it more next time. But before you go, let me know in the comment section, what is a pressing topic you want to see covered in the next episodes? And also don't forget to subscribe, because you know what, at this point, we go together. I'm tired of you pretending that we don't go together. I see the numbers of people that are not subscribed that listen to this. Stop. Just claim me in public. We go together. Claim me, my friend. So yeah. And of course, you know what, if this did something for you, share with somebody who you think would want to hear this. I always think anytime I hear something interesting, I have a name in mind. I have a family member, a colleague. I have someone in mind where I'm just like, this person needs to also hear this, either because they will strongly agree or because they will strongly disagree. And I just share it with them to open the conversation. So do that. Thank you so much for hanging with me, for being there, for your attention, and I will see you next time.